Okay, so the purpose of this interview is for a family member to share about a significant event that took place in his or her life. I have chosen my mother, who is sitting with me here now. Hello, Mom. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you?
I'm nervous.
All right, that was my next question. Are you nervous?
A little bit.
How did I know to ask that question? So, this interview should only take about 15 minutes. Do you have any questions for me before I start?
No.
Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, let's give the audience a little background information about you. I would like to confirm that you are Susan McKay.
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 67.
Okay, and you have been a nurse at Tri-City for over 30 years now.
30 years, yes.
Working in the labor and delivery department.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what exactly is the training involved in being a nurse?
You can either get an associate's degree or you can get a bachelor's degree. And I had gotten a bachelor's degree previously in child development, and then I went and got my associate's in nursing.
Okay, and along with that, there's also basic stuff like CPR.
Yeah, CPR, advanced cardiac life support, looking at fetal monitoring, resuscitation of babies.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I know you have to update that every
2
2
years.
years too. Okay, so I have heard you share a time when you put your nursing experience to use and you actually saved your own father, my grandfather's life. I would like for you to recount your experience. So first, let me ask you, how old were you when you saved your father's life?
I was like 40. It happened in 1991.
Okay, and you had only been a nurse for how many years?
Like 7 years at that time.
Oh, wow. So I understand you were with family at the time of this event. Which family was at this event, and what was the purpose of this get-together?
Bob and I were having a barbecue, and we invited Mom and my dad and her cousin Leela May and Roger, and they drove down to our house, and Barbie was there, my sister Barbie, and you and Dad, and I can't remember who else was there. So it was a small barbecue.
So my other siblings weren't there.
I don't believe so.
And how old was I?
You were probably like about 5 years old.
Oh, okay. So now getting to the actual event that took place, without giving too much away, without me giving too much away, was there an obvious moment when you noticed there was a problem at the barbecue?
Yeah, we were. We were in the kitchen. I was kind of getting steaks ready to put on the grill, and getting ready for Bob to do that. And then my mom and dad were sitting at the dining room table, and all of a sudden it seemed like I noticed it. Plus maybe Leela May noticed it, that there was something wrong with my dad. And I looked over. He was kind of just slouching over. He was like his eyes were closed, and he was kind of turning blue a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary. So at that critical moment, what was your first instinct to do?
I just said to them, get him on the floor. That's kind of what I said. And so as Mom and Leela May and Roger were getting my dad on the floor, I just went over and dialed 911.
Okay. So your emergency training obviously came easy to you at that sudden moment.
Yeah, it just seemed natural at that time.
That was going to be my next question. Did it feel like it came natural?
Yeah, but it was very scary.
Very scary. So what was racing through your mind during all of this?
Well, as I went over to call 911, then they were getting him on the floor, and Barbie came over and took over the call.
Okay.
And I just went over, and he was on the ground on the kitchen floor, and I just went over there, and he was completely non-responsive.
Mm-hmm.
So I could not see him breathing, so I just give him 2 big breaths. And I was surprised how easy it was to breathe into him compared to what it is like on a mannequin at the hospital.
So how long did all this take place? How long did you have to do CPR on him before the emergency arrived?
So I did the breaths, and I started doing compressions. And at the time, I remember when all this happened, it seemed like my husband Bob, took Emily outside in the backyard for a little bit. And then within a couple minutes, he came back in, and I had already started a cycle of compressions. And he came up to me behind me and he says, "Tell me what to do." And I just said, "Breathe." So then we kind of started doing a 2-man CPR. I was compressing and he was breathing for my dad.
I know that you have briefly mentioned this before, where my dad helped you with this emergency.
Yeah.
Like, I bet that made you, I bet you were really thankful that you had someone there to help you.
Yeah.
What were the reactions of the other family as that was there?
I just remember.
Were they in shock?
Yeah, they were. First, they wanted to get him a pillow, and I said, "Don't get him a pillow." And Barbie ran out to the street because she was waiting to tag down the ambulance when they showed up, because we lived in a kind of rural area.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember I was crying, like literally tears, when I was doing the compressions and thinking he wasn't going to make it. So,
I've heard you mention that your father thanked you in a special, however uncommon way. Can you explain what his way of showing appreciation to you was?
well, a few weeks after this happened, because he did take a breath finally, ambulance came and took him off to Tri-City Hospital, but he had written me a note maybe a few weeks later, and he thanked me for saving his life. And then he sent me flowers, and then he also wrote on there that he wanted me to have his most prized possession, which was his 12-gauge shotgun.
And you obviously kept the shotgun.
Well, I at the time I told him, just keep it there at the house, and then when you're done with it, I'll have it. So actually, he died like 2.5 years later, and I decided to let my brother have the shotgun, because I'd only went out once to shoot guns with him when I was like 12 years old, and my brother had gone out several times, so I went ahead and let him keep the gun.
And being like the only son of the family, I could see how that would make sense. So I want to rewind a little bit and go back to like right before or during the emergency ambulance people arrived. So was Grandpa like conscious at this time?
I was doing, we were doing the CPR, and then it seemed like after about a minute or two, he kind of took a really weird breath. It was like a guttural kind of breath, but he took just one, and then he stopped again. So I did more breaths, and then probably within 30 seconds, it seemed like he kind of woke up. And he was real disoriented and real kind of combative. He was like trying to get up, and I was just saying, no, just stay here. And then about that time when the ambulance came in the house.
And what hospital did they take him to?
Tri-City.
So they took him to the hospital that you've been working at for the last 7 years.
Yes.
So everyone knew you basically.
Yeah.
And how long was he in the hospital for?
He was at Tri-City probably overnight, and then I think the next day they had him transferred up to Orange County. And then he could follow up with his own doctors.
Okay. Because that's where he was living, was in Orange County at the time.
Yeah.
So, okay, interesting. So, when you look back, or actually, one last question. I know also that the local paper wrote an article about this heroic act. What was your reaction to having your story in the paper, and do you know how it got in the paper?
No, I don't even know how it was, who interviewed who or anything. I have no idea. I just know that there was a paper saying that something about that I was an employee at Tri-City and daughter saves father's life or something.
That's so interesting. So how did it feel to have your story in the paper?
It was pretty cool. I thought that was kind of neat, actually.
Did you keep
I do. I have copies of it.
I want to see that. So when you look back on this event, is there anything that you would have changed? Anything at all leading up to it, during it, or after it?
I don't think so. I think that one interesting thing is that years ago when we lived in the Bay Area, my husband, I just started nursing school, and he decided he wanted to take CPR.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd gone to a fire station, and at that fire station, they had mannequins that actually had printouts. So you had to really do CPR good or you didn't pass. So he'd actually taken one CPR class.
Oh, prior to this happening.
And so when he came up to me and says, "Tell me what to do," and I said, "Breathe," he just knew exactly what to do.
Wow, it's like you guys anticipated. Like, that's crazy. So, what are you thankful for having gone through this experience?
I'm thankful that I could help him at that time. That's great.
It's okay.
It's a lot of memories. But anyway,
you're thankful that you could help him.
That I could help him at the time.
That someone was there to help him.
Yeah.
So you had a few more years.
I had like 2.5 years left.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
We're both crying right now. So I guess, what has this event taught you? Anything more like with the nursing experience, or maybe with how to react with other people or your kids that you had? Or
I think just being a nurse, it's helped me just be really in tune about what's happening with my patients, and looking for possible problems that could happen, not just just try to anticipating problems that could happen.
Yeah.
I don't know about really with my kids. I probably do, but I can't remember specific things.
You didn't have any other scary moments like this one?
Not really. I had once when my daughter was choking on a piece of steak at the house, my oldest daughter, and then I just did a great big slap on her back, and it came out, but it was scary.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice for anyone who has gone through this or has yet to go through something like this?
Well, I always tell everybody to take CPR, and some people don't. But I don't know. It's hard to think of advice, but
take CPR.
Yeah, take CPR.
Be prepared. Anticipate
yes.
the worst, right? Okay, so in a very fortunate way, the career you pursued of being a nurse and all the emergency training you had led you to being able to save your own father, my grandfather's life, which is just so amazing. And I'm so happy I was able to hear a more detailed version of this story. Like, it's been great. Do you have any last comments that you want to make, or any other important information in regards to this experience that you want to share?
It just left me with a really good feeling, even to this day, that I was able to help him at that time. Because I was also thinking that if it had happened when they were driving down in the car to our barbecue, that it could have killed all of them at that time, if he had lost consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's
it was very fortunate that it happened
the spot where he was
where you were, someone was that knew how to handle the situation.
I think the only reason he maybe did survive at that time was that we were all right there, and everybody had a part in doing what they did to get help for him.
Yeah.
At the time. So.
Well, that's the end of this interview. How do you think it went?
It was good talking about it all. Brings back a lot of memories.
So obviously I may have some follow-up interview questions, just one-on-one with me and you. Yes. I might come back if anything comes up in my mind that I want to ask you about the event.
All right.
But I want you to know that I appreciate you taking the time to let me interview you about this significant event that took place in your life.
Thank you.
Thank you.